Hey there, friends. This is the Grow Podcast, and I'm Wendy Jo, and this is Ashley. How are you doing, Ashley?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. We haven't recorded in a little while, so this is great to see you again.
Yes, it's always a pleasure to record with you. I have a good time recording this podcast, so I'm happy to do this.
Me too. And the topics are so vast and interesting. It just keeps our attention, I think. And this week is no different because we're talking about yoga this week.
Yeah, I love yoga. So yoga is a big part of my journey. I don't consider myself a yoga expert per se, but the practice of yoga has really shifted just my awareness of life and understanding the endocannabinoid system, and then the list goes on. Yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting. So I have not been really drawn to yoga for myself. Some of my health conditions, like stretching, is really difficult. And so I never really got in the groove with it. But I'm always open to trying. I know there are many types of yoga and all different ways that you can do it. So I'm always open to learning more and trying again.
Yeah, for sure. And the person that we bring on, her name is Alysia. She actually goes through some of those different types, and she talks about breath work and mantra work and modifications in ways that you don't have to do the physical practice, but and still achieve the mindfulness
Oh
of
boy.
yoga.
I
Yeah,
can't wait to see this interview. So I think we should just get right to it.
sounds great.
Hey there, Wendy Jo with the Grow Podcast. Today we're talking about yoga, which helps create connection between mind, body, and spirit. It's a spiritual practice that creates strength while creating connection. Give it a try.
Hey, my name's Ashley. So I know you just heard that we're going to talk about yoga and spirituality, and I'm very excited to introduce Alysia. And she's going to give us a lot of her insights on what she understands to be true about yoga and spirituality. I think I know stuff about yoga, but I think she has me beat like totally. So I'm going to let her introduce herself first, and then we'll dive right into it.
Thank you so much for having me here, Ashley. Hey, everyone. My name is Alysia Makhani. I am a registered nurse. I am also a yoga teacher and a meditation teacher, and I own a company named Flor Verde Healing. And what we do is consult with clients about how to improve their mental and physical health through the lens of yoga, plant medicine, and mental health therapy. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. And that sounds really, really fancy, all that you do. And so I'm curious, first of all, before we get into the topic, one, how did you come up with the name of your business? Because that sounds very interesting.
So many people ask me that. I feel like I just, I did a lot of writing things down when I was coming up with a business name, and some things sounded more corny than others. I don't know. But Flor Verde Healing, Flor Verde basically means green flower in Spanish. Some people have thought that maybe it was French, Flor Verde. Actually, I think it would be Flor Verde. I don't speak French. So, but Flor Verde Healing. So we started out as a cannabis consulting business with yoga and therapy still there, but we really have shifted into holistic healing. So we're still with the name Green Flower Healing or Flor Verde Healing. And it's all about healing the human as a whole with multiple practices.
I love that. And so now my question is, how does it connect to, how does what you do connect to spirituality?
Such a good question. I feel like there's so many answers. So for one, I'll start with the cannabis plant. So with cannabis, we know that in history, there has been a lot of use of cannabis in spiritual practices all throughout the globe. in China, in India, in ancient texts, there are yogis who have practiced yoga utilizing cannabis spiritually, but they're not the only ones. There are people everywhere who use the plant to connect to themselves in a spiritual way and do so mindfully when consuming. So that's one aspect of spirituality. But as we get deeper, for me, spirituality really resonates with yoga. And I feel like, actually, I know I'm an integrative health nurse too at a hospital here. And I'm just going to give you an example. When I go talk to patients, I go to patients at the bedside and I tell them what I can offer, but I never say the word yoga because people immediately, if they have never done yoga or they see yoga, they immediately tend to say, no, I can't do that. So I change my words and I say, hi, would you like to do some breathing practices? Would you like to do some guided imagery? I have to change all these terms because what most people think of as yoga today is a physical exercise. And that is only one aspect which people are seeing oftentimes in the West. Yeah. What we see is asana is what it's called. And asana stands for, asana means seat in Sanskrit. And asana is only one element of yoga. So there's a reason why I say I teach yoga and meditation and not yoga. And that's because I'm making it easier. I'm trying to make it more understandable for people to know that, yes, I can teach movement, but I can also teach meditation. But yoga and meditation are not separate. They are just asana, meditation, breathing exercises, and philosophical studies of how to live life and get through life ethically, internally, and externally using so many spiritual practices.
Yeah, for sure. So it seems like you're saying yoga is more than what most people think, doing a crow pose or something like that. It has more to do with that internal exploration as well as the physical expression of the movement itself. Is that pretty true?
Yeah. And so in yoga, and there's so many lineages and many teachers teach differently and focus on different things, but when I'm referring to the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali, which is basically like the Yoga Bible or an ancient yogic text, asana is mentioned, but there are no poses that are mentioned. Asana simply means seat, and seat is the position that we take to prepare for meditation. And that can have so many different interpretations. But oftentimes what I've learned from my teachers is that asana or movement is what prepares us for meditation. It's really hard to sit in a seat for a long time and not move, right? So that can be you stretching, it can be you moving, it's connecting with your body in order to get to what we're really doing is concentrating, and the next goal is meditation, and the next goal is liberation. So it's a whole process.
When people go to a yoga class or they think that they're supposed to achieve something when they go to, let's say they get a package of 10 yoga classes, is it realistic for somebody to expect to achieve spiritual enlightenment or spiritual development through that one physical class or whatever it is that they're doing in that moment?
I think that it can be a step towards learning about spirituality if you're going to a yoga class. But if it's, you might not know the teacher, you might not know their teaching style. They may only give physical cues in their movement class. They may not integrate any type of philosophy in their movement. So if a person goes to a class 10 times and their teacher never said anything about contentment or practicing mindfulness or harnessing love or how not to hurt yourself or others, if they've never made any mention of that, you're probably not going to learn about the spiritual path through yoga from that teacher. They may have their own practice, or maybe they have knowledge, but are you getting it, or are you getting your workout on? And there's no shame in getting your workout on, but I don't think that in that instance, it would lead to spiritual development. Now, if you had a different teacher, 10 classes, and that teacher taught all the poses, but wove concepts of yoga or other practices. Oftentimes people combine yoga and Buddhism. And I had a teacher that did this. This was my first teacher. And this is, I stuck with her because the class, the movements were, I really connected with, but more importantly, she spoke of Buddhist philosophies, which are very similar to yoga, almost some are very closely related. And, you know, the things that she said stayed with me in every class. One thing, you know, that I remember her mentioning is everybody, you know, there is suffering, everyone is suffering, and every person does want love. And she would weave concepts like that through the class. So after 10 classes there, I was like, this person makes me feel good and makes me think about and contemplate how life can be livable if we are accepting of certain circumstances, and we're also accepting of compassion and love. And so can one yoga class do that? Probably not. But if you find a teacher that you resonate with who speaks of spiritual concepts, then that might be a teacher that you click with and you stay for a while and you learn from.
What was your experience of your spiritual development? Like, what did that look like? What have you experienced awakening before? In what context? Did yoga have anything to do with it?
Yeah, it did. When I decided to go to that yoga studio, I was in a relationship with somebody, and we were not a good match, and it was a really long-term relationship. It was like 6 years. And although I believe that this person is a good person, when we were younger and together, it was very stressful, and we fought a lot, and we just weren't a good match. And that caused a lot of internal struggle. And I noticed actually, I didn't notice this yet, but I went to that class because I did not want to be at home. I went to this yoga class that was near my home, and I really didn't want to be at home most of the time because my partner and I lived together. And so I was like, I'm going to go to yoga all the time now. And my mind started to shift with one of my first teachers. This is the same teacher I was talking about who wove concepts of Buddhism through her asana practice. And eventually there came a time when my partner and I did split up, and I was single for that whole year, and I was actually doing a lot more yoga. I went to a retreat with this same teacher, and I was meditating every day at home, and I actually really kind of stopped drinking alcohol. I kind of stopped, I was partying a lot, and it was fun. I just wanted to have a break and learn about myself. And I did that with yoga. And I remember I went on this retreat with my teacher and some other students, and it was in upstate New York. And when I came back home, I was living in an apartment by myself, and I woke up the next morning and I felt like there had been like duct tape removed from my heart. Like it was open, and I couldn't believe that I didn't even realize that I had a heaviness there. And yeah, so that was I think my first experience with awakening, and feeling that, oh my gosh, I had all that weight there and I didn't even know. And then I began to notice things like, wow, I was really mean to people in my life, just in daily living, you know. At work, I don't think I was that nice to people. Being a nurse is not easy, And I think I, maybe wasn't as nice to people, even in other little situations. I just had more anger. And if you ever come across somebody who's always angry for no reason, it's not because it's no reason. It's because they're experiencing something in life that's making their life challenging. And that's how I was. So I felt so much freedom and release, and I felt like a door had opened for myself. And that was the initial phase of really going down a spiritual path for myself. And it opened up a can of worms.
Yeah, no, I think that's beautiful. And what's interesting about spiritual awakening, once you go through that process, it's like, I can't believe that I walked around with all of this burden for so long. Right? Like, that's kind of how it feels. And it almost feels as if when you're dealing with other people who haven't gone through any version of it, because everybody's experience is different, you feel kind of sad, to your point about when you meet people and they're just that way because of whatever, even in the conversation we had about healing healers, the reason why healing for healers is necessary is because they are a lot of times projecting in a way that they don't have any control over because they haven't gone through that awakening process or that healing process. And so I really think it's beautiful that you shared that. And I think it's important because both Wendy and I shared our awakening experiences. And one thing I've learned is that, even though I already said it, is that everybody's experience is different and it doesn't look just one way. The thing that propels you into awakening or propels you on your spiritual path, it looks different for everyone. And so I have one more question. So we talked a lot about your practice and your journey and some things that you experienced. What are some suggestions or recommendations or things that people should know when they decide to start yoga?
One thing I want to share with everyone is that yoga can be for everyone, no matter what you look like, no matter what your body type, no matter what faith you practice, it can be integrated for everyone. So even if you have limited mobility, if you have a knee problem, you have a back problem, you have a larger body, there are options for you. What you see in the media oftentimes are very able-bodied people practicing yoga as fitness. And I just want everyone in the world to know, or everyone listening, that it can be for you. There's so many other practices. There are movement practices, there are breathing practices, there are meditation practices, and there are mantra practices, which are one of my favorite. And there's so many options. So if you walk into a yoga class and you feel uncomfortable because maybe you look different than everyone, it's okay. Even if it doesn't turn out to be your place, there is probably a place for you.
For sure. And I love that you shared that, because I think there is a lot of stigma about what is possible when it comes to yoga. And if you can't do, I don't know, I keep saying crow pose, but a full crow pose, there is a modification that can be done to help open your hips, or, and to your point earlier about asana, meaning to prepare for meditation, to sit and prepare for meditation. You don't have to do all the poses either. You can do the ones that you're capable of doing in the modified version that is possible for you and your body type. And so when we look at mainstream media and how it's projected, we see a certain type of person doing it. And so I think it's worth saying again that it's possible for anyone to get into yoga. It's just about finding the right instructor or the right person to mentor you or whatever it may be. And so you mentioned your favorite type of yoga is mantra. And so would you be willing to share with us?
Yeah, I will share. I'm just going to go with whatever comes off the top of my head right now. Actually, I have something that I want to share with all of us. So if you're out there and you're listening, and if you like to, you can keep your eyes open or closed if that feels comfortable, whatever feels best in your body. I'm going to close my eyes and bring my hand to heart center, also known as Anjali Mudra, or prayer position. Taking a moment to acknowledge the effort that we've put in today to come here and speak about spirituality with one another, acknowledging our teachers and our teachers' teachers of all walks of life for helping us on this path and illuminating it with knowledge, and taking a moment to acknowledge the land that we live on and all that it gives to us. I'll share a mantra with you in this moment. It's called Sarve Bhavantu. And it's a mantra for self-compassion. Oh. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha. Sarve Santu Niramaya. Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. Ma kaschid dukkha bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And if your eyes are open or closed, go ahead and open them. Softly coming back to the room, and I got a little nervous there, but I hope that you felt a sense of self-compassion for yourself, for others, and for the universe.
I love that. That was so beautiful. I did. And, I really appreciate that you were able to do that on demand. So if anybody's listening, please know that this was on demand. But the other thing that I think of is the power of vibration too. And where you feel vibration when you hear it and when you have access to it. And so for me, I did feel it in my heart area. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to all of that. I love sharing it. I know it could be new for some people, but it's something that I love to share, and anybody can practice a Sanskrit mantra with the guidance of a teacher, no matter what your faith is.
We really appreciate you coming on and talking about this, and hopefully everybody learned something new today. And if they want to reach you, how would they reach you?
You can find me at flor.verde.healing on Instagram, and my website is florverdehealing.com.
All right, sounds good. Thank you again.
Bye.
Have you heard of the Cannabis Nursing School? It's a place where cannabis nursing, entrepreneurship, and spirituality meet. The High Align Tribe is waiting for you, and it's so easy to find. CannabisNursingSchool.com.
And we're back. Well, that was a fantastic interview, just brilliant. And I love how she went through, different ways people can participate in the practice. And the mantra, I love mantra myself.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely beautiful. When I sat there with her, it felt as if I could feel the vibration in my heart. And she was seeking compassion, or was expressing compassion through this particular mantra. So I felt it, and it was through a computer screen. So imagine what it would be like in real life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. First of all, it's amazing that we can do it through the computer screen.
Right.
And the power of that, that someone can be in their own space, feeling comfortable trying something new or something that they practice regularly. I think it's a really powerful thing that we can do that today.
Yeah, for sure. I think, the internet has a bad reputation when you talk to some people, but, this is some of the beauty that the internet brings, is we get to connect with people we wouldn't normally get to connect with. And so it was a pleasure.
Right. And I love it that you're always looking for the beauty in things. Well, have a great week, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.